One of the burdens about having a mortgage on a home is home insurance. And if you're like me, who lives in a floodplain, then you are very familiar with flood insurance. For those who don't know or are looking for a new home, if you live on a floodplain, you are mandated by the mortgage company to have flood insurance. The cost is going to be different from home to home depending on the flood zone that you're in. For me, I pay $700 a year for flood insurance. Others have told me that they pay anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 or even more just for flood insurance, which is crazy to me. Well, next year in 2024, some of you will be getting an increase in cost for flood insurance because FEMA will be confirming all new floodplain maps in Marion County. As soon as I found out about this, the very first thing that I did was contact DPW to find out what I can do about it, and they were not any help. I contacted the Wayne Township Trustee's office, and Jeff Harris over there was able to help me out with contacting FEMA. And just by chance, they were having an open house that week to talk about the floodplain maps. So they started me off on this great journey on trying to get off of a floodplain. The journey was a little bit rough, but at the end, I was able to get my property off of floodplain. And this is why I'm making the video. I want to try and help you get off of a floodplain map. I can't make any guarantees, but these are critical first steps of getting off of a floodplain. Okay, well, let's get into it. First thing you're going to do is go to the online letter of map change website. The website will be on the description below. You're going to make a login for email and password. No big deal. Next thing is you're going to click on create amendment application. But first, I want to talk about customer support, mostly because they're awesome. Anytime that I had a question, I just called them up and they were able to answer it without any kind of problem. Same thing with emails. If I couldn't call them up, they emailed me back within like an hour or two. I mean, of all the government agencies that I've ever talked to, FEMA is great. I wish all of them were. If I had to give them like a scale, it would be plus 20. Marion County Election Board and voter registration would be like negative 500. So if you have any questions, just give them a call. They've always been super cool to me. So after you click on Create Amendment Application, you're going to see the flood determination details. So I want you to read this on every page. There's going to be a description on what they're looking for. For me, it was a portion of the land within the bounds of the property and single structure, mostly because the only structure that was on my property that was in a floodplain was a little bit of my garage. Yours is all going to be different, what you're looking for. Same thing, if you have any questions, just call up FEMA. They'll be able to help you out. Uh, Community information, these will all be drop downs. I imagine all of you live in Indy, so probably going to be the same. Most importantly, click on Add Community because then it'll store it over here. Then hit Continue. Street address of the property, just fill all that stuff out. The legal description of the property can be a little bit confusing. First thing you're going to do is you're going to get your lot number. You're going to go to the property report card and you're going to click on address. You're going to put your address on there and it will put up a property report card. Under here, you'll see that mine was lot 510. And if you live in a subdivision, you're just going to go to this website. It'll be in the description, and it's just asking for a more detailed description of your subdivision on where you are in the subdivision. Then after that, you're going to click on Add Property, and just as before, it's going to open up a box. That way, all that stored information is there. Then you're going to hit Continue. And then these are the base flood elevation details. I clicked No because I wasn't doing any adding to my land or taking away. I wasn't adjusting any of my property to try and get off of a floodplain. Most of you, you're probably your first go around and you're probably be hitting no. So just hit no, hit continue. You can see that the LOMA and the no fee required are already checked off. I think that these are for like engineers or surveyors that are making adjustments to the land to get their customers off of a floodplain. You don't have to worry about that. We're just regular people trying to get off of a floodplain, and we're not wanting to pay for anything. Same thing with here, just fill out the information. I have all this blinked out because I don't want any of you knowing where I live, but you'll just verify everything and then hit continue. On the additional forms, on the amendments, there's really three forms that you need. One is the firm panel, the other is the copy of the property deed, and a tax assessor's map. Now, this whole thing is pretty much free until you get to this point, which you're probably going to pay $5. And I'll explain here in a minute. But this is what I want you to screenshot, because this is the email that I want you to send to the to the assessor and the recorder's office. Everything except for this will be your name. And you need to send in this blue box too when you do it. That way they know what you're talking about. Now, I forget which one it was. I think it was the recorder's office, but you have to pay $5 to get this data unless somehow you have it. But the lady that I talked to, she was super cool. She called me back within like 20 minutes of the email, and I was just able to pay the $5 over the phone. And I got both documents, and I was able to upload them onto here, and I'll show you that in a second. The firm panel is a little bit confusing, but FEMA did a great job on breaking down of how to get this information. This is the website that you'll go to. You'll type in your address. And you're going to have the next page will be dynamic map or map image. You want to click on dynamic map. And this is what you're pretty much going to get, except it'll have your address and your property information. It'll come as a PDF form, so just save that, because you're going to, onto the next thing, you're going to upload it into the supporting documents page. Same thing with the recorder's office, same thing with the tax assessors. You're going to have 3 documents you're going to upload, and just make sure you put the description properly. You don't want to confuse them, otherwise they might be mad. And you'll just click all of that. You're going to click on the effective firm panel, the property deed, the tax assessors. And then the next page is just to confirm everything that you're going to have, and you're sending in, and you're just agreeing to say, I promise I'm not lying, so you don't send me to jail or fine me. It's pretty easy overall. You could probably have the whole thing knocked out in 15 or 20 minutes. When I did it, it was like 3 or 4 hours, because I was constantly double checking on the paperwork that I was sending over and what was critical, what wasn't, what did things mean. Because I just didn't want to get in trouble, and I didn't want to have to redo the process all over again, and have some random guy trying to get off of a flood zone. And we all know how government agencies work. It took about 2 months for FEMA to get back to me, though. My claim did get denied. They didn't want to do the map change on there. But 2 months after that, I got a letter in the mail from my mortgage company saying that I'm officially off of a floodplain, which is great for me, because now I save $700 a year on flood insurance, and I no longer have to worry about that. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's gonna be able to get off of a floodplain, because both my neighbors are really deep into it, and I am just like a quarter of my property is in it, and just a sliver of it touches my garage. But this is a very critical first step on what you'll have to do afterwards. From what I understand, you'll have to get an engineer and a surveyor involved after that, and the cost is going to range from at least $5,000, probably even maybe 10 or 15 grand to get off the floodplain. And it's really going to be up to you on how much money and time you want to spend on it. When I did the math on the was it worth it, it wasn't really that worth it. But in 2024, all the flood maps are going to be changing, and I wasn't sure if my flood insurance was going to go up or not. So this was the most important time to do it. Now, I've talked to some people, and they actually have flood problems, and that's mostly because of the streets that they live on. The front yard will flood, and if there's any way for them to get drained, there was a good chance that they could be off of a flood zone because they're not really near a creek. It's more of the drainage of the road. People in Mars Hill, people 2 streets away from me, they have this issue. But like I said, this is going to be the first step of possibly many, unless you get lucky like I did. But this whole thing wouldn't have been possible without Jeff Harris from the Wayne Township Trustee's Office. When I started researching on how to get off of a floodplain, he emailed me back pretty quick about the whole thing, and he was able to get me in contact with FEMA. They had an open house, an online open house, and then they were very helpful on that. So big shout out to Jeff Harris. Without him, I wouldn't have been able to get off of the floodplain. Trustee's office is pretty awesome with getting information and replying back to me. So if you have any questions, you can email me, but you're probably going to be better off emailing FEMA because they're going to have all this information for you. But good luck to all of you out there. I'm really hoping this video helps out because I know how much of a burden it is of having to pay so much in flood insurance. I think I'm on the low tier on it, and some people are having to pay like 3 or 4 more times than I am. So good luck out there. I'm hoping for all of you. Until next time.